Okay, I gotta do this review really fast because someone's on the way home and I'd rather do this without being interrupted. I have been planning to do this. I've got 2 books I need to be reviewing. Maybe I'll get to the other one also, but hey guys, it's me again. It's the Alpha Sun. I did it. I read it. I sat down for 2 hours and read through the whole thing. I read really fast. It's not anything about quality, it's just I speed read. It's what I've always done. So first thing, cover's really soft. I know I say that, I've said that the whole time with like Grandmaster and Heaven's. This is a different kind of soft. This is like almost a velvety feeling cover. I don't know if you can see, but there's like an indentation. This is a paperback, by the way, and it looks like it's a hardback, which I find really interesting and alarming at the same time, just because I love the way hardbacks look. On the corner right there, that's my favorite spot of a hardback usually, is that I can feel the divot with my thumb. But it's also concerning to me because I'm afraid, because if you look on the inside, I don't know if you can see it, but there, yeah, right there, there's like a yellow line. You can see the binding. I got this one on Amazon just because I could get 1-day delivery. So that's where I got it. You can get it from Tiny Ghost Press. That's who published it. I follow them on Instagram because this is what made me follow them on Instagram, is I saw the advertisements for this, and they have other books on there that I want to read. So I want to start off with saying I was unaware that this was going to be a series. I thought this was going to be a standalone book. So if you've been watching for a while, you know that I made a video on the Make Meals series. I'm still working on that. I'm almost done with those books. I'm still deciding if I want to do groups of 5 or if I want to do groups of 3 for them. I think I'll do groups of 5. But therefore, I'm no stranger to paranormal romance or shapeshifter romance. It is not something that I find shame in, just because everyone has their own romance. I mean, I read Twilight when I was younger. I read it 3 times, actually, the whole series 3 times. I watched the movies 4 or 5 times each. And nowadays I'm like, yeah, no, I don't like it, but at the time that was what I was interested in. That's how I interacted with my classmates. So it's not a far leap to realize that I just never left the paranormal romance section, but the plus side is it's gay. I'm gonna read you the synopsis, okay? May the moon gods light the path between souls. Max Remus couldn't care less about finding his mate. Unlike the rest of his fate-obsessed pack, he totally prefers hanging out with his bestie, eating his dad's steak sandwiches, and drawing in his trusty sketchbook. But all that is about to change at the Blue Moon Festival, a summer camp where elite pack wolves go to find their mate. The festival is a rite of passage for a teen werewolf, and this year's events will be one to howl home about. The Alpha's son, Jasper Apollo, is attending for the first time. When Max finds himself inexplicably drawn to the ridiculously handsome but totally jerk-faced heir, he is forced to grapple with the unexpected feelings clawing at his heart. If Max rejects his destiny, will fate's bark be worse than its bite? There is a lot of symbolism in this. For one, Remus. That is an old name. But here's the thing with Remus, if anyone's familiar with the story Romulus and Remus, that's how Rome was founded. The story was that Romulus and Remus were twin brothers, and they fought each other to the death, and Remus is the one who died. He's the one who did not win. He was not the alpha, per se, in that situation. And so Rome was named after Romulus. So I think it's interesting that Max's last name is Remus, and it's clear from the start that his is from the back of the story. The synopsis is very clear that Jasper Apollo, the Alpha's son, the future Alpha, is his mate, and his last name is Remus. And here's the thing, Remus died. Romulus and Remus died, so that's interesting. I'm a little worried about that. Then again, the author might not have picked that name for that reason. They might have just been like, oh, it's an old lupine name, because it is associated a lot with wolves, wolf imagery. I could do a whole video on that alone. But I also find it's fascinating that Jasper's last name is Apollo. I'm making so many connections right now as I'm actually talking. I'm gonna bring that up in a second. Apollo is the sun. They talk about the moon gods. He is the opposite. And it could be that he's breaking tradition by having a mate who is not female, not the Luna of the pack as they call it, so that could be interesting. That could be why Jasper's last name is Apollo. But I also find it interesting that Remus and Apollo, Roman and Greek mythology. Apollo is the god of the sun. He took over after Hyperion? Is it Hyperion? Oh shoot, I don't remember. I need to reread my books. But yeah, so I think it's interesting. They're very contrasting. Remus the moon and Apollo the sun. I'm gonna have to do more research on that one actually. But so our narrator is Max, this one right here, the shorter one. And you'd think the whole thing is set at the Moon Festival, but it's not. About halfway through, it takes off past the Moon Festival. And it's very well paced. There's lots of background done. You can tell that there was a lot of research into the terrain of the setting they're in. You could tell that there was research into the mythology, there's a lot of world building, and it's done very well. There's things I wouldn't have thought of, like the idea of someone not wanting to be in a pack. What happens when wolves leave a pack? Wolves, and by wolves I mean the werewolves. So there's a lot of that going on. And there's just terminology that's just like, oh, that's a nice touch. And it's just interesting. And so it is, I really did like it. It was very well written. They talk like normal teenagers. They have discussions, like as one does. There's sneaking out. There's just lots of thought into it, and you can tell there's a lot of thought into it. Having said that, there's also political strife in here, which makes sense because Jasper Apollo is the alpha son. I should have, That's usually what happens, because in a lot of werewolf media, you'll notice that the alpha has to fight for his position. He is challenged a lot, and he's not always going to get that spot easily. The thing with Max is he's very, very simple. He's very like, look, I'm from the suburbs. I like steak, and I have a best friend, and my best friend moved after the festival, and I don't care. I'm not like the other girls, that trope. And then halfway through he's like, oh god, I'm like the other girls, and then he's like, okay, yeah, okay, that was bad for me to be a pick-me girl, as a trope, a pick-me boy in his situation. But Jasper, he's very mysterious. You don't know a lot about him. You meet him, you meet his family, and you learn about him through his actions. You don't get any flashbacks, you don't get any like, no one elaborates on why he acts the way he acts. You have to learn from the people around him. And that is a good way to get two characters to get to know each other. Because a lot of the time people are like, okay, they love each other at the end. No, Jasper wants nothing to do with Max, and that is pretty interesting, because a lot of stories, and they're like, I found my mate, they instantly want to protect them in a lot of werewolf media, and you don't see that in this. You see a lot of worry and strife, and like, well, just because the moon says that we're mates doesn't mean I want to have one. It doesn't mean I want to be yours. And then it just goes from there, and it's very well written. I like the concept that they went with that the author, her name is Penny Jessup, went with that. I also appreciate the font that she used. It made it very easy for me to read. I don't want to show you what is in it, but let me see if I can find. Is there like here about the author page? I don't know if you can see, but the font is very friendly to read. I mix up letters a lot if I'm not paying attention, or if I'm reading super fast, or I'm like really into something and I have to reread things. I did not have to reread things with this. because the font was very well chosen. So overall, it was a really good book, and I do recommend it. I actually really do recommend it. It's LGBT friendly. There's a polyamorous relationship, which is amazing. There's strong female characters, there's strong male characters, and there's just a lot of like thought behind it, and I really do appreciate that. So I do recommend it. I'd give it a solid like 8 out of 10, 7.5, 8 out of 10. And not to mention how pretty the cover is. I mean, you can already see, I have a thing about pretty covers. I mean, it doesn't always define a book, but it really does help me to notice them. Everyone says don't judge a book by its cover, but if the cover doesn't catch my attention, it's not doing its job. And the cover definitely caught my attention, and then the synopsis sealed it for me, and then I read it, and I was like, alright, I'm gonna be reading the next one. So the next one, so if you like this one, the next book will be called Chasing the Alpha's Son. So I don't know, I don't know when it's gonna come out. I'll have to research it. This one just came out this past year. It's her first novel, and she's hoping it's the first in a long-running series, so I'm hoping that things pick up and get better in the next book. And I hope the next book comes out soon. Because I have a thing, but I'm following her on Amazon. I am following the Tiny Ghost Press on Instagram. I'll see if I can find her on Instagram too, so that I get a notification when she says that she's gonna have it out. But it was well written. I really liked it. I sat down and I read through it. I started it one day and then I got busy, and then I came back to it, and I actually wanted to come back to it, and I read through it the second attempt. So I only made it like 2 chapters in, had to leave, came back and read the entirety of it. How many chapters are there? I don't know. There's 381 pages. There's no table of contents. I miss table of contents in books. I really do miss them. I know it takes up a few extra pages, but I do miss those because it makes it easier, because sometimes I'm just like, okay, that's what chapter I'm on. So I do miss that. But it was really good. Yeah, I recommend it. So let me know what you think in the comments. If there's any books you think that I would like based off of this genre. If there's anything you want me to like be like, hey, have you read that, and see what my taste in it is. I don't know. I'm always open for suggestions. My TBR list is ridiculously long, always, without fail, but I'm always willing to add to it. I mean, I added this to it, and then I threw it all the way to the front, and so I gotta finish up the 3. But yeah, that was it. So take care of yourselves, Danger Noodles. You, like, seriously, take care of yourselves. We're getting into the hot summer months where I'm at right now, so I've got to be hydrating. I've been baking today. I cleaned. Make sure you're staying on task with making sure you're taking care of yourselves, because it's really important. It is important. Hope you're doing good. Love you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye. Till next time.